Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BC Strata Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Grant. Today, we are diving into a critical part of Strata General Meetings, the art and science of minute taking. If you ever sat through a Strata meeting that dragged on hours longer than necessary or had to deal with the fallout of minutes that didn't quite capture what was decided, this episode is for you. I'm joined today by Tim from Minutes on Time to help us solve those exact problems. We're going to look at simple prep strategies to reduce your meeting stress, discuss the reality of where AI fits into this process, and help you decide exactly when it makes sense to hire a third party and when you can handle it internally. Tim, welcome to the show.
Hello, Tim. How's it going? Thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, Ryan. Going good. Thanks for having me. It's looking forward to chatting about things.
Yeah, we've been trying to get together for a little while, and now finally we're able to cover this great topic of minute taking.
Excellent.
Maybe we can go into a little bit about yourself, let people know how you got into this area, and we'll start from there.
Absolutely. So first, I'll start with what I currently do. I'm general manager of Minutes on Time, and what we do is we provide professional minute taking services for condos, stratas, and HOAs, any kind of multi-residential property. Now, where I originally began in the industry was as a condo manager. I had a portfolio of 5 to 6 properties at any given time. So I've seen meetings from the perspective of a manager. I've chaired them. I prepared for them. I'm currently on the board myself with CAI Canada, which is the Community Association Institute, which is all about education and advocacy for residential communities. And I also, of course, do minutes for corporations through our business. And we focus purely on those types of properties. We don't do work for, you know, uh, like a company, it's always a
Mhm.
residential property. So we're very tightly aligned with the needs of that. And that comes really from my background is in that field.
Awesome. So yeah, I guess today, you bring in that extra expertise that's beyond just the stratas or the BC based kind of companies. You're pretty well breathed across the country, right, with different organizations, and you've seen a lot of how they kind of do their minutes and how you could bring different value to these different types of scenarios for the residents versus the companies.
Yeah, that's true, but they're very similar in how they run. All residential properties tend to have fairly informal meetings. Maybe the
Mhm.
annual meetings are more formalized, but when it comes to board meetings, they're not using like really strict parliamentary procedure. Usually, it's
Yes.
not like a governmental meeting, so they're really more similar than dissimilar, which is why
Okay.
to kind of tackle them all. But, we don't
Yes.
have to those other types of industries where the jargon and ideas are just totally different. A
Hmm.
strata in BC and a condo in Ontario, they run very similarly. They have to follow some different rules when it comes to their acts, but, otherwise the stuff that goes on in them, pretty similar.
Perfect. W- Would you like to dive into further areas there on your presentation as to what value can we bring strata corporations here today? Like, what are they kind of missing and lacking from not having a proper minute taking service?
That's a good question. So first, I don't want to say that like every property needs minutes done by a third party. It really
Mhm.
depends on the needs of an association or a strata. Um, I would say most would benefit from it, but it really is sort of from the perspective of the strata, a personal decision for it. If it's a really small strata with just a few units, they're not going to have the budget for that, but they're also not gonna talk about as many to-dos, right? If all you have is a
Yes.
landscape contract, you don't need a lot of minutes for it. There's not a lot of scrutiny, and most of the communication with residents is almost just door to door. But when you're dealing with the larger properties, when you have a a tower with hundreds of units, there's a lot more scrutiny. You have more stakeholders. Every single unit is one. And you're dealing with a lot more contracts and you're dealing with higher value contracts. And that's where you get into like that deeper legal need because minutes persist forever, basically.
Yes.
They don't seem important, because that for the board and the manager, you're making decisions and you're executing decisions, but you don't know who down the line will need to look at something or who will rely on it for information or even challenge it. You know,
Mhm.
uh, I think things are starting to get more regulatory and things are getting a little bit more contentious sometimes with people. There's more legal battles I feel like are happening in Canada. We're becoming a little bit more like the states in that sense. So
Yes.
having good backup like kind of just covers you. Um, but the second thing is sort of the impartiality of it. If it's done by the board or management, and let's say the owner is sort of attacking um, the board or management, usually wrongly. Like they just have their idea that
Of
I think
course.
you're misusing the corporation's money, because they don't often understand really what the money is used for and why contracts cost what they cost, right? Because they haven't been on the board, but they still want to attack it anyways, and they make those accusations. And
Yes.
if they've asked for the minutes and you send them the minutes, they don't necessarily trust it, I think, because
Mhm.
it's coming from the person they're not trusting. But
Yes.
yeah, so if you can misdirect that and say, it's not just the board and management at the meeting. We bring in
Mhm.
someone else who's not part of the board. They're not part of management. They're listening to the meeting too, and it's them that are taking the notes. And
Yes.
we wouldn't stick around at a property if they were doing like a shady deal in the meeting and then asking us to
Mhm.
write something inappropriate. We'd be like, we can't do that.
Exactly.
You
No,
know,
yeah, that would compromise your company's sole service, right? That you're providing then, and that's the same with our company as well. People kind of bring us in, and sometimes they don't understand. Oh, why do we need the software? For what we do, but um, they realize more so that they needed us because uh, they had controversy, at the strata, and that there's owners that are fighting, and they really need that third party that's not going to be biased and is going to be very professional and uphold the integrity of their company. Right? They're not going to do something that the council or that the owners may wish for them to do. That there's no room for any misconduct effectively, right? When they bring in a company like ours or like yours. And then I guess with minute taking, are there any advantages for time? Like how does the third party service potentially save the client time? Right? Do you see that?
oh yeah,
In the feedback from your clients?
yeah. There's a huge time savings in it. Now, like back when I was a manager, and it does go back many years, almost 8 years. I did do minutes for some of my corporations. It's what they
Mhm.
expected, mainly because the previous manager had done it, and they set that expectation, so I inherited it from them.
Mhm.
But it was time out of my day to stop what I was doing to do the minutes. And really, after a meeting, the what you really want to do is initiate the new tasks because there can be a lead time to receive quotations or and get all the stuff you need in so that you have it in
Mhm.
time ahead of the next meeting so you can prepare and get the meeting package out in advance so your board members have time to read it. So that first day, after your meeting, you don't want to be doing minutes.
Mhm.
Because then maybe the second day, now you have a leak and then you get distracted. Now you have another meeting. Next thing
Yes,
yeah.
piling up.
And, and I also think that, strata managers are becoming more, they're spread thinly compared to 10 years ago. It's just more and more to do, more regulations to follow, just more everything. And
Yes.
it feels like that everywhere in the world, I think, but it's becoming challenging. I see people getting tired a little bit, like they're getting overworked.
Yes.
And for me, in a business that focuses on one task, right, you can get good at that task and do it well. And a manager should be focusing on, they can't just do one task, but they should be focusing on those high value tasks, right?
Hmm.
Working on the big projects, working on the big contracts, negotiating those, doing the high value things that improve life for residents, that can be seen, that maybe reduce their budgets, stuff like that. And minutes, it's just very administrative. I mean, it can be given to um, an, ad- an administrative manager, somebody who's
Hmm.
not really managing yet exactly, but they might also have things that they could be doing for the corporation that are higher valued too. So just do it in an age where things are becoming busier. There's more things to do, and let's face it, there's never an end of important things to do in condos.
Yes.
Getting this one thing off the list to do uh, is a helpful thing.
And it's really a nominal fee at scale for the larger stratas. And actually, for myself, even I think, stratas that are, size 10 or slightly less could still see good value from it. Like for the price point, right? Even though it is more expensive per unit. But for me, I see the importance of, from the legal aspect, how this is a meeting usually that happens once a year for them, right? Annual meeting. Sometimes they have the special general meetings mid-year as well. But on average, 1 to 2 meetings a year that they have where they're making, vital business decisions for the Strata Corporation. And these are legally binding, minutes that are supposed to be done, right? And decisions that are supposed to be done that really pave the way for the next year or for whatever the, special general meeting was about. Um, so for an owner to spend, a few bucks or $10 or $20 each for one meeting, depending, what it is on, to host the meeting, it really is not that big of a deal, right? It's a few Starbucks coffees to make sure you have some really solid compliance in place to help you out, to have some good documentation, right? And it shows as well, I think, with realtors when people go to sell their place, showing that professionalism through the documents, right? That this strata is doing its the best that it can to operate in a proper compliant manner, and providing really good quality documents to the owners and to the new potential prospect buyers, right? It really kind of comes together for a pretty nominal fee, and it kind of goes back into the resale value of your property by, uh, you know, paying a little extra for having proper services come in and help out.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because I mean, we sit in meetings all the time and look at boards who are just making decisions for everything that they do. And the best boards that get the most done for the sites are the ones that look at high value matters and for things that are just part of good governance and good operations that aren't costly. They're usually very quick on those decisions because they just know that it needs to be done. It's a part of doing business as a strata,
Yeah.
that the real results are elsewhere. It's like that Pareto principle, 80-20 rule, right? Um, and then and as you said, like for someone looking to buy, uh, they're gonna look at the minutes. And if the minutes are a mess or if there's some problems there, even if it's just grammatical or structure wise, it's gonna give to that feeling that maybe it's not well managed.
Hmm.
Um, And so are they as willing to buy? Could theoretically hurt value. I mean, there's no data to
Yes.
really prove that, but I wouldn't see why not. And if
Hmm.
I were to purchase a strata or condo, I would absolutely be scouring those minutes, like no question.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think in the age of AI as well, I think AI will probably be used by, you know, purchasers to review those minutes. And AI could say, "Oh, it
Yes.
looks like the minutes aren't well done." Uh,
Hmm.
that would instantly kill deals, I think.
Which I know there are AI services. We've had them on the show before, and they do review minutes. And I don't know if they actually analyze to say, that interpretation of the minutes as to how good quality, the minutes are. But rather they do pinpoint, whatever is pointed out in the minutes. And that's why it's important to have really good detail in the minutes, by somebody that knows how to capture that detail. right? So if you're there brought in, you know how to capture the detail of what's going on at the meeting that someone else, that isn't doing this every day may miss, right? And they may summarize it too much, right, as to what was said at the meeting, right? Well, you know exactly what needs to be done, right? So yeah, they will. People are using these services to analyze minutes for the properties that they are looking at. It is a popular service, and there's also a human based service that analyzes minutes that I've seen, and they are very good for putting together a nice report to the realtor to show them, their thoughts on how, the strata is conducting itself. And if they have quality minutes, I'm sure that reflects as well, right, in the notes of the company that's providing it. And they are typically ex strata managers themselves, right, that are running these businesses, doing the document reviews, and yeah, they can tell really good quality stratas, right, from the ones that are just winging it, right, and don't have the experience that a strata that has the right people on board, helping out with different tasks, right? So it really does, make a difference for the realtor.
So it makes me think though about sort of what should go in minutes. Because minutes can be,
Yes.
some people write them very minimally with almost literally just the decision, without any context to support it. That's too late. 'Cause now you don't know why they decided to do that. And the why can sometimes be more important than the decision itself. But then there's also a tendency by some to write way too much. And this is what lawyers often warn against. So if you're having AI, say, review a bunch of past minutes, if there's a lot of swirling conversation, I can see that being interpreted by AI as the board has gone back and forth a lot. And, it might kind of show that they're having a hard time making a decision. Uh,
Yes.
so, and I mean, there's always swirling discussion in meetings, but it's the end result that's important. So you don't really want that to cloud the reality of the
Yeah.
result.
The AI doesn't capture the context as well. Like, it doesn't understand when to leave out that interaction, right? And to just say what was the end result of that interaction, right?
It's true. I mean, we've worked a bit with AI and tried it in our workflows. I've used it minimally with some meetings. I've used it extensively, or I've used it not at all. What I find is that it never really saves any time if you're doing the minutes professionally. Um, it
Yes.
can it can for me, it can remove the need to pass my minutes to an editor, really to just check for grammatical issues that maybe I've accidentally left in or like a spelling mistake. Because, the spell check in a word processor really isn't that good. Um, so AI is great at that. It's super great at grammar and spelling and sentence structure. It's just not really good at judgment. It's not good at the initial right. If you just give it
Mhm.
the, you know, the transcript of a meeting plus the agenda or something like that and pass it in, the result that comes back is never good enough.
Yes.
Maybe to like the untrained eye or something, someone who's not used to writing minutes,
Yeah.
they might think, yeah, that looks pretty good. Looks like it caught most. And there will be some stuff there that's great, but there will be some stuff that sometimes that's just way off the mark. But
Mhm.
almost like confidently so and convincingly so.
Yes.
So
Yes. To the untrained eye again, that's just kind of reading it through and go, oh yeah, that looks good, which can be dangerous. And I guess that really summarizes overall why people may not um, be best to rely on AI for minute taking at their meetings. And another good point I noticed with one client was that they did record the meeting, and then they had AI as well, but there was really bad connection from multiple speakers at the meeting, and then the transcript that the AI provided, and the summary was off because of all these bad bandwidth glitches from those speakers, and only somebody that you know was there to actually hear what was going on, because they had a hybrid meeting in person and online. So somebody that was attending would be able to know what was said, because there were those glitches where you would miss a few words here or there, or even an entire sentence sometimes. Would be very choppy in the signal, right? They just had really bad internet connection in this one location. So, AI isn't going to save you in those scenarios, right? Or even a recording, even a screen, a recording of the conference, or the meeting. It's not going to capture what was missed, right? And only somebody like yourself, if you're attending, you're able to say, "Hey guys, I couldn't hear what you said, right? It cut
Mhm.
off. Can you please repeat what was said?" Right?
Exactly.
You're there as a human to get in there and make sure that it's captured.
Yeah, it's having someone present is a chance to clarify. Emotions aren't always clear either, because of the
Yes.
informal nature. You'll see like swirling discussions sometimes where they go to one idea, then it bounces to a different idea, and they go back and forth for a bit. And then once someone eventually decides to go with a particular idea, they're not always super clear on which one they're now meaning. And
Yes.
I've sometimes been sitting in a meeting thinking, I have no idea which one everyone just agreed to. And it's not because I
Because
wasn't
they're all
listening.
saying yes.
When I think because mm, once one or two people say yes, there's sometimes a tendency for everyone else to be like, yeah, okay. Like
Yeah,
they don't want to say, I don't know which one you were talking about. People don't like saying,
exactly.
don't know. And so that's when a minute taker will jump in and say something. We're like the last stop. If other board members are timid in saying I don't know, we will say I don't know. And and sort of my philosophy was with this is that as a minute taker, because we're the third party, we're not involved in the day-to-day operation. We're not technically as familiar. So
Yes.
if we're clear on a meeting, it means the council is clear. All the members are clear. If we're unclear, chances are they're unclear as well. And if you like, if you pay attention, so many times managers will be in a meeting and a board member will say, I don't remember approving this, right? But they did. And the manager's thinking, why don't they remember this? It's possible that they just didn't really understand at the time. And you can't remember
Yes.
something you don't understand. Um,
No, exactly. It goes, out one ear.
yeah. So I think a minute taker is good just to ensure that everyone is on the same page. And a good chair, a good manager will repeat emotion to make sure
Yes.
everyone's clear on that, but they don't always do it. So we're sort of just that check and balance.
Yeah, I find that, like with myself, I'm never a chair at the meetings for our clients, but I do have to help out with articulating amendments. So when they bring up amendments, for example, I will typically, like they have that banter going back and forth for a while. And then I have to say, well, okay, guys, what do you want this amendment to say? Right? What are we putting in the voting platform as a voting item, right? What's it going to say? What is this amendment, right? Is it this, this, this? And they're like, oh, no, it's not quite that. It needs to be said like this. I'll say, okay, can you please write it out and tell me what I need to, give it to me exactly worded how you want, right? And that usually really helps clarify it for them. But again, it wouldn't have happened, right? Otherwise, and they would have, if they were using some other platform too that maybe doesn't even prompt the user with a specific tagline, and it's just a voting item, then that may have been lost, right, in translation, and may not appear in the minutes accurately as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Exact
it's
same
it's
scenario.
yeah, very similar, right? You're doing the minute taking, but I sometimes have to, for the report of the actual voting items, right? I provide that, but I don't provide the context of the minutes, right? I just am very verbatim for what the voting items were, and you, on the other hand, are capturing everything, encompassing it all, right? So that's pretty cool. Um, I guess other than that, did you have any other tips for the viewers, or would you like to tell them how to
Yeah.
find out more information about your service, or what would you like to do?
Yeah, I'll end with one more tip. I was thinking about
Sure.
earlier today, and it has to do with preparation. And this ties back a little bit to what I was just saying about how if the minute taker's clear, then everyone else is clear. So we see all kinds of different methods of preparing information, different types of agendas that don't really say all the topics, some that do, some that refer you to a management report that then buries the information somewhere else. Or we see attachments for supplemental information that's scattered and you don't know which attachment goes with which topic. And this leads to difficult preparation. And we can observe if it's difficult because we have to go through everything in advance to prepare our structure for the meeting. Um, if it's hard for us, it's hard for the board as well. And that's one of the reasons why sometimes they're not prepared for a meeting. It's because it's just too much work. So they're just like, what, I'll just wait until I get there. But at the
Yes.
end, most would like to come prepared. So if you have an agenda that lists all the business items on the agenda directly rather than nesting them somewhere else, it's a much more clear overview. So they know why it's important to look at it. And then they might also, if they're busy people, if they're limited on time, they might only have time to really review a few parts in full. So then they can at least see what's important to them and then go refer to the information. If those materials can also be in the order of the agenda, it makes it easier for
Yeah.
them to get to it. So if it's like a file folder, you could number them, or if
Yeah.
it's correlated into one PDF, you can literally just order it in the correct.
Yeah. Sequentially, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We've seen that
Um,
before too, with people getting confused. What page do I need to go to? Right. And there's not proper numbering and stuff.
And that takes up time in the meeting, and it just makes the meeting feel less professional, which reflects on the manager. But if everyone's there prepared because you made it easy for them, then you're going to have a better meeting. Board's going to feel better
Extremely.
about it, and then they're happier with management. Um, but the last thing that can be done is to provide a little management summary of each item so that you're outlining what the issue is, what the proposed solutions are, and what the manager's recommendation is. Uh, because that way the board knows what you're going to ask. The motion's
Yeah.
almost written for itself, right? They might go in a different direction, but they're more likely to end up going with what management knows is best because chances are the strata manager knows it better than anyone else. If you don't give them that guidance, then maybe they come to the meeting after having read the materials with a completely different decision in mind. And now you have to like claw them back from that and convince them not to go with quote three
Do that.
and why quote one was better. So I'm going to leave any suggestion at the end of this. It's good preparation, and that
Mhm.
enhances the meeting. It enhances the minutes, and it enhances the follow through afterwards because now you'll have good decisions that you can act on.
Yes. Where can they learn more? I guess we can also tell them about our partnership too. We recently partnered up so that we can offer each other services to our clients. So now we'll be offering to our clients the minutes on time, minute taking services. And where can they learn about more and any of the deals, Jim?
Sure. So we have a website. It's www.minutesontime.com. From there, you can request a quote or send us an email. Happy to answer any questions. If any board or strata manager wants, I can also jump onto a Zoom and just discuss how things work with us as well.
Perfect. And yeah, when we go to our clients, we'll be offering the service as well. So they'll be able to, work together with us. We'll collaborate and make sure that we can bring you in for some minute taking.
Right on. Looking forward to it,
Okay.
Len.
Thanks for coming on the show, Tim, and we'll stay in touch.
All right, great. Have a great day. Thank you again.
You too.